And I walked into this room being very overwhelmed and overawed by it all. Don't know anyone and feeling quite lost. And then 10 years later, I was on the same stage at the same event, giving my first opening address as the then president of IAA UK.
Hello and welcome to Media Snack Winners, the fast-paced podcast interview show where we get to meet the individuals and organizations doing great work to inspire success and drive change through the global media and marketing industry. On Media Snack Winners, we get to learn what is behind that success, what it takes to make change in the industry, and what the rest of us can learn from those experiences. My very special guest for this episode is Fredrik Borestrom, who is the new World President and Chair of the International Advertising Association.
Lovely to be here. Thank you, Tom, for having me. I've been a long-time viewer and listener to Media Snacks ever since the tagline was as long as it takes you to eat a sandwich, I think.
That's
so
right.
Great to be on.
That's going back a bit. But Fred, thank you so much for joining us. We've known each other a long time. And I'm very happy to have you on, and not least because we're celebrating your new job role, which we'll get to in a minute, which I kind of teased in the intro. You are now president of the world. So for those that don't know you, just please tell us, what is it that you do, and maybe give us a hint as to what it takes to be successful there, because you've got the two hats that we're wearing today, right?
Yes. So thank you very much for having me. So yes, I am the world president and chair of the International Advertising Association. So that allows me to lead this wonderful trade body. That is truly the only global trade organization that really brings the entire industry together. So we represent agencies, brands, publishers and media owners, as well as academia. And we represent all these different stakeholders around the world. We've been around for over 87 years and are currently in operation in over 40 countries. So it's my job to lead this organization and make sure that we serve all of our stakeholders, be it our individual chapters, our members, our corporate members, our academic partners, really to drive responsible, ethical, and sustainable marketing, advertising applications that drives good growth for brands, for businesses, and obviously based on my title as well, the world. So that's one of my hats. And then another hat I wear is that I lead agency development at LinkedIn for EMEA and LATAM. So working with our friends over at the ad and media agencies around the region. Yeah.
I mean, and those two vantage points that you have is very unique and very valuable. And I'm sure, to those advertisers that get to hang out with you as part of your work with the IAA, you're a great mentor and a good close counsel, I think, to a lot of people in the industry. And it isn't a privilege to call you a friend. So I'm delighted in celebrating your success. Let's find out what it takes to win, though, right? So let's think about the IAA first. What for you? I mean, you've come in as you're like a month into this new role. Do you have a vision for what it's going to take for the IAA to be successful? How do you measure success?
Yes, I think for sure. I think one of the things I spoke to our global board and all of our VPs when I took on the role was that I'm very much of a viewpoint that what got us here won't get us there. Our industry is going through incredible transformation, be it with the influx of technology that permeates everything that we do, the changing landscape. We have had the big six for such a long time. They're now gone down to the big five, maybe even four, which I think you referenced in one of the episodes previously. And the platforms that we have continues to be incredibly strong. So I think it's there's definitely a viewpoint that for us as a trade organization is to make sure that how do we guide the industry forward. And I think thinking about things around responsible, ethical, and sustainable marketing and advertising applications, I think those are kind of the key things that we feel that as an industry we're responsible for. And how do we make sure that we drive that forward? And also make sure that we do that with an inclusive viewpoint as well, to make sure that what we do is inclusive of the markets we serve. I remember hearing something around Unilever where they said, like, we need to look as a company with like the communities that we serve and I feel that we as an industry need to do the same.
Yeah, very good. Well, I think there's unanimous support, I'd imagine, for you to take that role. It requires clarity and integrity and reputation. And one thing I know about you is that, and one thing I know about life is that all you have left after everything is your reputation. And you have an amazing reputation, and you're well regarded and loved across the industry. And I think a lot of us look to you as being, you're like a kind of moral compass in some ways, right? You just kind of risen above a lot of the mess and distractions in the industry. And I know that you've spent a lot of time kind of, you do invest a lot of time kind of mentoring people, young people and others in the industry and things like that. So when I ask you this next question, I'm really curious, because I just think you've done so much. But what are you most proud of that you've achieved so far?
That's great question. I think I do think actually, like, it's probably like the journey I've been on since I joined the industry. I go back to the first Thursday of December 2006 was when I was asked by my future boss, Will Nicholson, to come in and sign a contract to join what was then Euronews as a ad salesperson, and then go to a Christmas lunch. Little did I know that he was going to bring me straight to the IAA Christmas lunch where there were 800 people in a room at the Hilton. And I walked into this room being very overwhelmed and overawed by it all. And then don't know anyone and feeling quite lost. And then 10 years later, I was on the same stage at the same event, giving my first opening address as the then president of IAA UK. So that was kind of a pretty quick journey to go from like not knowing anyone to standing in front of everyone. And then fast forward, then 8.5 years, and I took on the world president role. And I feel like that's probably kind of journey from literally coming into a room and feeling very lost to now turning up to places in New York or in Singapore or in Dubai and being able to kind of meet friends there that are part of the industry, like yourselves and David and the team at ID Comms. I think it's that's probably what I'm most proud of.
It's an incredible journey. And I know that this is a kind of fast-paced show, and there's lots that we could unpack here. One of the things that I really like to leave behind in this episode, these episodes, which we'll get to, is just the kind of advice you have for people coming into the industry. And I just think you're a great beacon of like focus and hope for people that this is an amazing industry. You can literally come in. It's such a democratic environment, isn't it? You can come in if you have values and principles, which you've showed us. That you can really lead the industry, which is amazing. Listen, congratulations to you. This is like a fan club episode. I've got to be very careful. I'm a big admirer of all of your work. So tell us, let's unpack. I know you've got these two hats. Let's just unpack those domains for us. Like what's going on? What are the challenges in a trade association, trade organization, and also in B2B marketing, if you can draw any parallels to those two things?
Yeah, I think actually there's a lot of parallels there, which is probably why I'm allowed also by LinkedIn to wear these two hats. But I think one of the things that I've seen increasingly over the past couple of years is how do we prove the effectiveness of our activities, right? How do we make a strong case for investment in building really strong brands, and how brand investments drive long-term revenue growth? I think we're all being asked to do more with less across the board. Like, CMOs are under immense amount of pressure. So I think that's the biggest challenge that we all face. I think that's kind of one from a kind of effectiveness perspective. Yeah. And then I'm also like, kind of how do we also maintain trust? Which I think that's an existential piece for us as an industry and as advertising in general. But, making these kind of strong financial cases for long-term investment versus very short-term activities, I think is still the biggest challenge that we have.
Yeah. And what do you think? I mean, focus on the B2B part. What does winning look like in now? In B2B, what do you hear from your advertiser cohorts or your agency leaders? What are the winning strategies in B2B?
Yeah, so I think it's even more kind of focused there as well on like short term, long term, right? So where I think as an industry, the B2B industry has very much been a performance-focused industry, where it's all about driving MQLs and SQLs. But we know, based on research, that at any given point in time, if you're a B2B brand, only 95% of your audience, or total audience, is in market to buy your product. So actually winning in this sector really means that you've managed to get your brand to demand mix right. You have demand-focused activities that capture and convert existing demand. You have the 5%. But more importantly, how do you then build that kind of long-term trust, building social capital and awareness? So you're first to mind within your kind of out-of-market audience, which is, as I said, like 95% at any given time. So when they kind of move from being out-of-market to in-market, that they basically think of, oh, okay, this is the company I need to work with. Like if I'm kind of issue a global RFP as a brand, like I should think of ID Comms number first and number one, right, as consultant to work with. So I think that's kind of really important. And I think it's often that like the brand piece gets cut first because it's difficult to like measure the impact that has, and it's more long-term in focus. But the really successful ones, if I think about Salesforces and ServiceNow and Microsoft, others, they manage to get that kind of mix very correct. And that's our long-term success.
Very good. We like that. You mentioned this a little bit earlier about in the context of the IAA, the impact of technology and particularly AI being such a disruptive force in media and advertising. And also you sit within an organization like LinkedIn, which even though it's professional, is still a social network, which is, I guess at some points you're trying to kind of hold back the impact of AI so it doesn't all turn into a big slop fest. So where do you sit when you're sitting in these kind of two hats? How can you be kind of encouraging and cautious to the advertiser, but more content maybe makes more money on LinkedIn? I mean, you have to kind of balance that out.
I think it basically it's literally everywhere now, right? I think we've seen kind of like the last couple of years, it's been growing, but now it feels like it's literally everywhere we look. And I kind of feel like the kind of the joke everyone says when on a panel is like, oh, we went this long by mentioning AI. I was like, that's probably feels like a bit of a kind of, we've said it too many times already, so let's maybe like retire that one. But I just feel like it's within planning, it's within optimization, within measurement, even creative development. I saw some examples of work that monks have done at the Mexico in Germany a couple of weeks ago, which was incredibly impressive. And I also seen some kind of the agentic workflows that Accenture Song has built as well, which also kind of takes you back to see that very critical thinking agent that literally questions everything within this workflow. So I think it's here to stay. It's kind of how do we make sure that the content we produce is still of the level and quality that engages an audience. Because if it's just built and written by ChatGPT, it's just, you quickly realize that it's basically just been generated by a computer. It doesn't have the same tone of voice or the same kind of humor or depth that maybe if you wrote it yourself. So I think it's a tool that we would need to use. And I think it's going to impact the way that we operate. It will impact jobs in many ways for sure. But also that it will create newer jobs within our kind of platforms and agencies and customers as well. So like I'm positive and optimistic, but there's also obviously like a fair share of like nerves as well around it.
Yeah. That's some good examples. So let's think. The industry is as we say, in always in a state of flux, but it seems like there's a lot at stake at the moment. For those, let's think about. I mean, you spend a lot of time within the IAA, because I remember doing it when I was involved of the IAA. Is mentoring young people into the industry, trying to kind of bring them in, give them a safe place to land, point them in the right direction, connect them with the right people. What's your thought about that? Just in the context of this AI disruption, jobs are being lost across the industry. It's a very difficult time to come in. It's kind of exciting in some ways, as you say, but a bit scary. When people are coming and looking to you as the president of the world, the all-knowing, what's your advice to young people looking at the industry now?
So I think, I think it's still an incredibly exciting industry, right? And I think if I think about it, like we're not unique where technology and AI will impact the way that we operate, right? Every single industry across the world will have that. So I think like if you come into our industry, you probably will be on the front line in many ways, right? You will be working with some of the most creative technology companies or the most creative agencies, most creative brands. And it will, at the end of the day, be creativity that drives us forward. And I think it's that's kind of where I'd like to be as a kind of even now also being in the industry for quite some time, but even if I wanted to go into it now, like being able to work with brands that are really shaping the future of this. And also that's also within the B2B space, right? So I think if like it's an exciting industry to be in. So I think to kind of consider this as kind of your step into career, I think is the first one. And once you get in, I think the key thing is how you get as involved as possible. That was one of the things that when I joined in 2006, it was very much like you would go to all the industry events, you would go to all the kind of the leaving drinks, you would spend time out with your customers, with your agencies, so like sort of building that network, because at the end of the day, those are the people that you will like evolve with and grow with within the industry, right? Like I had a number of people at my wedding that I was kind of running between Charlotte Street with trying to sell TV ads or print ads, and I think that's kind of my kind of key advice. Like, don't just stay in the office and work on your computer every single day. Like, make sure that you kind of build a strong network across the industry, not just within your office, because that will kind of keep you in good stead.
I love that. I love the idea. I mean, a lot of people kind of said that, the importance of humanity and personal relationships and people in the system and all of this kind of stuff. But feels like you're somewhat at an epicenter of that, aren't you? Because you can encourage people to be part and support the IAA. That itself, as I know, it's a great social network. It's an in-person social networking thing, which is very powerful. Good advice. So listen, if you're getting into the industry, that's it. It's just be present, show up.
Yeah, and I think for us, we take it very seriously, right? Like professional development education is one of our core pillars within the IAA. I think like we want to make sure that we are there every single step of your career, from like when you enter the industry all the way through to senior leadership, right? And I always say many times, like I wouldn't be where I am today in my career if I hadn't been involved with the IAA. So it's been a professional development journey for me personally as well. Yeah,
I'd probably say the same as well. It's very good. Bravo to the IAA. Right, let's some quick questions at the end just to kind of wrap this up. Really, just we want to get a better sense for those that don't know you too well. Like, let's get under the skin of Fredrik Borestrom and see what makes you tick. What's your best leadership advice, or something that somebody's either said to you that you've held on to through your career, or something which you repeatedly give to others as a gift?
Yeah, I think it's actually it's probably not a single piece of advice. It's actually like I kind of grew up seeing my dad, how he operated and how he worked. And I think the way that he was an MD on a big company, but then he would treat like the guy who ran the post office and the warehouse exactly the same as he did with his leadership team, right? So actually, like looking at how he kind of treated everyone within his company, wherever we went out to visit different offices, I think that was just kind of like very eye-opening. So you realize, like, be it the person who cleans the floor, be it the person who kind of takes the dishes, or be it the person who sits on your leadership team, like you treat everyone the same.
Yeah.
And also he's very much a connector and networker, and I've kind of tried to pride myself in giving more back to my network than I take out of it, right? So how do if I hear someone who needs something, how can I figure out like who that person can be connected to within my network to get that help? Yeah. So I think that's probably like the 2 things or 3, 4 things I learned from him that's kind of I've tried to bring with me throughout my career as well.
Yeah, love that. Thank you for sharing. Outside of work, I feel like you must have 30 hours in your day somehow, because you seem to be everywhere doing everything all at once. But when you're not doing that, I know you have a young family, but what do you do to really decompress and something very different? Where would we find you outside of the industry?
So I've told my family for sure, like my 2 small kids and my wife and my parents and friends. I think that's the biggest passion of mine. But I think like watching and doing sports, I think is what keeps me sane. Like whenever I travel, I bring my running shoes with me. So if I step on a long flight, I'm flying to Brazil tomorrow night for a market visit, and the first thing I'll do is put my shoes on and go for a run when I land. So I think that's kind of the key thing that keeps me sane.
Yep.
It also helps to beat the jet lag as well. So yeah, that's probably like either doing or watching sports, but I prefer doing it, to be honest.
Very good. Very good. Okay, that's more leadership advice, I think. So kind of to wrap up, what we always like to do, as you know, is just to pause and just look ahead, right? So we've got, as you said, some big disruptive forces in the industry, some big challenges, but you give us hope in the work that you do. So what are your hopes for the year ahead? Where would you like us to be 12 months from now?
I think if we're both looking from macro perspective and industry perspective, I think it's kind of hoping for more stability across the markets that we serve, right? And more kind of calm. I think if you look back the past 2, 3, 4 years, it's been incredibly disruptive in a multitude of ways. Be it macroeconomic headwinds, there've been armed conflicts and wars across the world, and I feel like we all deserve kind of more peace, stability, and tranquility. And if we can have that in the next 12 months, I think that will be good for everyone, both from a mental and physical health, but also from a business perspective. So that's what I would really hope for.
Very good. Fredrik Borestrom, the new world president and chair of the IAA, and also director of agency development for LinkedIn, EMEA and LATAM. It's incredibly long, too happy.
I have a very long business card.
Thank you for joining us on Media Snack.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Media Snack. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a positive review and remember to like and subscribe on YouTube.
And we love hearing your comments, so please don't be shy in the comments section below.
That's it for now. See you next time on Media Snack.